Hello again. The sight of well over 1,000 swarthy and villainous looking young foreigners landing in our country yesterday was a chilling one. For those of us familiar with the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, it reminded us of the perils of allowing too many wild strangers to settle in your land. Around the middle of the 4th century AD, parts of Asia were in turmoil. The knock-on effects from this upheaval had a grave effect upon European civilization. Chaos and war can do that. One group of people is displaced, and then those refugees cause problems for a prosperous and well-run society, which allows them to come and settle in a hitherto law-abiding and peaceful community. This was the case in the middle of the 4th century, and it is, alas, the case today in the early 21st century. Between 370 and 375, a fierce band of tribes from Central Asia invaded what is now Ukraine. These were the Huns, and they drove out the Goths who were living nearby. Those Goths became refugees, and for some reason the then Roman Emperor Valens allowed them to cross the Danube and settle in the Balkans, which were a Roman province. This was in 376 AD. The Goths caused terrible trouble. Think murder, mugging, and rape of the people living quietly in that area. There were riots, massacres, and then wholesale slaughter. The Romans thought that the best way to deal with the problem was to allow the Goths to set up self-governing territories where they would then live nicely and stop making nuisances of themselves. They were invited to join the Roman army. It didn't take long before the Goths realized that all the senior officers in the army were Roman citizens, and that didn't seem fair to them. They demanded a form of positive discrimination so that they too could have important roles in the armed forces and also the civil administration. Nothing was enough to keep them happy, though. They had a permanent chip on their collective shoulder, and when some of their demands were not met, they banded together in 410 AD and then sacked Rome, behaving there in a most awful manner, looting the place and reducing it to the status of a third world city rather than the sophisticated city which it had been before they arrived. Tribes in the north, seeing that Rome was no longer strong enough to resist them, then invaded and caused their own form of mayhem. I wonder if anybody else can see how this compares with the situation today. We are bringing all those refugees into the country, and then we expect them to behave like ordinary law-abiding British citizens. They do not. Very often their conduct is eerily similar to that of the Goths, once they had gained a foothold in Roman lands. Just like the Goths, these people too feel aggrieved because everything in civilization we have carefully built up, all the important positions in the army, judiciary, and political system, held by those belonging to our own culture, the people who created the civilization. Just as the Goths demanded that this change, so too we've been giving way on this point ourselves for quite a while now, by allowing the newcomers to become judges, members of the cabinet, police officers, and so on. Once installed in positions of power, sometimes even at the very top of the tree, these individuals then work to open the gates even further, allowing millions more foreigners to flood into the country, with results which are quite predictable. It was very wisely said that those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it. And today we can see the fall of the Western Roman Empire being played out in Western Europe, following just the same pattern which spelt destruction for civilization 1,500 years ago, leading to the Dark Age. We must hope that we are not also heading for another such Dark Age, although I wouldn't personally be prepared to wager too much money against this eventual outcome.